What would you do if you had to pay off a $1 billion debt tomorrow? That's exactly what happened to Robert Ng, heir to Singapore's wealthiest family during the 1987 market crash. Most billionaires wouldn't have gone bankrupt, but the Ngs didn't just survive. They multiplied their fortune to $9.7 billion. The secret behind their recovery reveals why some ultra-rich families last for generations, while others disappear. But before we get into the story, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and if you have any thoughts about the video, well, leave them in the comments down below. 1. From zero to real estate empire, the Ng family's rise. You think starting with nothing is tough? The Ng family didn't even have that when they began building Singapore's biggest fortune. In Teng Fong, the mastermind behind this wealth empire, was literally the son of a tailor. No fancy connections, no rich uncle, not even a small loan to get started. Just pure hustle in a country where old money already controlled most of the prime real estate. So how does a tailor's kid with zero wealth end up building a multi-billion-dollar property empire? While everyone else was fighting over expensive downtown properties, Ng had a totally different playbook. He looked where nobody else was looking, the suburbs. When Singapore's elite developers were scrambling for central locations, Ng quietly bought up suburban land that nobody wanted at rock-bottom prices. This wasn't just being cheap, it was pure genius. But the move that really made him legendary? Orchard Road. Today, it's Singapore's premier shopping destination, packed with luxury stores and five-star hotels. Back when Ng started buying property there, it was nothing special. He saw potential where others saw nothing, snatching up buildings nobody wanted and transforming them into gold mines. That's why they called him the King of Orchard Road. He literally owned the street before it was cool. His strategy was super unconventional. While other developers focused on quick profits in established areas, Ng played the long game. He'd buy undervalued properties, renovating them just enough to increase their value, then use that increased value as collateral to secure loans for buying even more properties. It was like playing Monopoly, but with real money and real buildings. The crazy part, it worked better than anyone could have imagined. By the 1980s, his company, Far East Organization, controlled more than 700 properties across Singapore. Let that sink in. 700 properties. He wasn't just a player in Singapore's real estate game. He practically owned the board. Far East Organization became Singapore's largest private landlord, and Ng became one of the richest men in Asia. What made Ng different from other successful businessmen wasn't just his eye for undervalued real estate. His work ethic was absolutely insane. Business associates who worked with him said the man was relentless. While other wealthy developers were enjoying long lunches and fancy dinners, Ng was inspecting properties, running numbers, and plotting his next move. The guy lived and breathed real estate 24/7. His early signature developments became landmarks in Singapore. We're talking massive hotels and shopping centers that transformed the skyline and set new standards for luxury in the city. Each successful project built his reputation and opened doors to even bigger deals. Banks that wouldn't give him the time of day early in his career were now practically begging to finance his projects. But Ng wasn't building this empire just for himself. He was creating a dynasty. His son Robert was learning the family business from the ground up, watching how his father turned nothing into something over and over again. While Ng focused on Singapore, Robert would eventually expand the family business into Hong Kong through Sino Land Company, taking the Ng family fortune to heights that even his ambitious father couldn't have imagined. The most mind-blowing part of this whole story? Starting from actual zero, the Ng family built a fortune worth $9.7 billion. Not million, billion. All because one man decided to zig when everyone else was zagging in the real estate market. No inheritance, no connections, just strategic thinking, relentless work, and the courage to invest in areas everyone else ignored. 2. The billion-dollar crash that nearly destroyed everything. While Ng Teng Fong built a real estate empire through careful planning, his son, Robert, nearly brought it all crashing down with one catastrophic gamble. In 1987, Robert Ng wasn't just managing the family's massive property holdings, he was secretly placing enormous bets through the Hong Kong futures market that would make Las Vegas high rollers look like amateurs. Robert wasn't playing it safe either. He set up 2 mysterious companies registered in Panama, basically offshore shells that let him make massive trades while trying to hide who was really behind them. It was like having a financial mask on while betting the family fortune. The timing couldn't have been worse. When Black Monday hit on October 1987, global markets didn't just dip. They absolutely collapsed. Suddenly, those clever financial maneuvers Robert had been making turned into a nightmare. His paper losses hit a staggering 1 billion Hong Kong dollars. That's not a typo. Billion with a B. Even for a billionaire family, this kind of loss is the financial equivalent of a nuclear bomb. But instead of stepping up and paying what he owed, Robert tried something pretty wild. He basically said, "Sorry, those were just shell companies with limited liability, so not really my problem." This wasn't just bad business ethics. It was a move that literally broke an entire financial system. The Hong Kong Futures Exchange couldn't absorb that kind of loss, and the whole thing came crashing down. The situation got so insane that the Hong Kong Stock Exchange had to completely shut down for 4 entire days. Well, think about that. One family's debt was so massive, it paralyzed the financial system of one of Asia's most important economic hubs. Trading just stopped, markets frozen, all because Robert Ng wouldn't pay his gambling debts. Things got even worse when the Commercial Crime Bureau of the Royal Hong Kong Police started digging into what happened. They discovered Robert hadn't just made bad bets, he actually colluded with brokers to avoid required margin calls. In normal people terms, that's like getting your buddy who works at the casino to let you keep gambling without putting up more cash when you're losing big. This wasn't just risky business. It was potentially criminal. Robert was staring down some serious charges. Market manipulation? Check. Fraud? Possibly. The kind of charges that send wealthy businessmen to prison cells where silk sheets and room service aren't an option. The Ng family fortune, built over decades through careful real estate investments, was on the verge of total collapse because of what looked like financial crimes. But then something truly bizarre happened. The Hong Kong government faced what seemed like an impossible choice: prosecute Robert Ng and potentially trigger a complete market meltdown, or find some way to let him off the hook without crashing their economy. They chose door number 2. Instead of facing jail time, Robert Ng got what might be the sweetheart deal of the century. He agreed to repay just 500 million Hong Kong dollars, a fraction of what he actually owed. And who covered the rest? Hong Kong taxpayers. The government basically said, "This guy's too big to fail," decades before what became a Wall Street catchphrase, and arranged a bailout that let Robert walk away relatively unscathed. Yes, you heard that right. Instead of going to prison for market manipulation that shut down an entire country's stock exchange, Robert Ng got a taxpayer-funded bailout. This is like robbing a bank and then having the government decide the best solution is to give you some of the money you tried to steal. The aftermath was pretty surreal. The Ng family's reputation took a serious hit. You can't nearly crash a nation's financial system and expect to be popular at cocktail parties. But their actual fortune? Mostly intact. While most people who make billion-dollar mistakes end up bankrupt or in prison, Robert Ng walked away to fight another day. 3. Inside the Ng family's luxury empire. After Robert Ng walked away from a billion-dollar financial disaster, you'd think he'd stay far away from anything related to gambling. But in one of history's weirdest plot twists, the same family that nearly crashed Hong Kong's economy with reckless betting now owns a multi-million-dollar horse racing empire that even Asia's richest families are jealous of. Most billionaires show off with basic stuff like mansions and fancy cars. The Ng family, they flex with thoroughbred racehorses. Like a lot of them. Robert Ng personally owns 8 racehorses worth millions each, and his kids, Daryl, Nikki, and Jan, have 4 more between them. That's 12 multi-million-dollar horses in one family stable. These aren't just expensive pets. They're status symbols that scream, "We've got more money than we know what to do with." But here's where it gets good. Despite all their cash and connections, there's one exclusive club in Hong Kong that still won't let them join. The super elite 12-member board of the Hong Kong Jockey Club. No matter how many horses they buy or how many billions they have, these doors stay closed. Why? Because those old money types have long memories, and they haven't forgotten the 1987 scandal. It's like the ultimate rich people grudge. Speaking of grudges, when most people would lay low after almost destroying a financial market, the Ng family did the exact opposite. In 1997, they swooped in and grabbed an 80% stake in Hong Kong's Conrad Hotel for a cool 2 billion Hong Kong dollars. And their timing couldn't have been better. Room rates jumped by 14.7% right after they bought it. That's not just lucky, that's billionaire-level market manipulation. The hotel game is seriously next level. The Ng family runs all their luxury hotel properties under Sino Hotels, which isn't just about fancy rooms and infinity pools. They also own the fortune chain of high-end Chinese restaurants. These aren't your average takeout joints. They're power dining spots where business deals get made over shark fin soup and where the Ngs entertain the exact kind of people who can make or break billion-dollar deals. Not everything's been smooth sailing though. Sino Hotels took some hits when tourism dropped, with their financial reports showing a painful 66% drop in net interim profits and an 80% nosedive in operating profit. But their crown jewel, the Conrad Hotel, kept performing like a champ through it all. When your hotel portfolio is large enough, you can absorb those kinds of losses without even blinking. What makes the Ng family different from your standard billionaires is how they use their luxury assets. They don't just own fancy stuff to show off, though they definitely do that. Their luxury holdings are strategic. Every horse race is a networking opportunity. Every hotel is a power base. Every high-end restaurant is a place to make connections with people who matter. Their extravagant possessions aren't just toys. They're tools for building influence. This strategy explains why the Ngs have stayed at the top even after events that would have destroyed most other wealthy families. When you own the places where the elite gather, you get information before anyone else. When you race horses alongside government officials and business tycoons, you build relationships that pay off in ways that don't show up on balance sheets. And the brilliant part? It all looks like they're just enjoying their billions. Nobody questions why a billionaire owns racehorses or hotels or restaurants. But for the Ngs, they aren't just luxury indulgences. They're the infrastructure of power. What makes the Ng family truly different isn't just their insane wealth. It's their incredible resilience. As Robert Ng himself puts it, in business, you have to be prepared for the unexpected and adapt quickly to survive. And yeah, they definitely lived by those words. After nearly losing everything in the 1987 crash, they came back stronger by restructuring their entire business empire. The family didn't just rebuild, they completely transformed how they handle risk. They've strategically divided their assets across different sectors, with major investments in real estate and a smart spin-off into hospitality through Sino Hotels. This strategy gives them serious protection against future market disasters. So, if you want to see more crazy stories about billionaire families who built massive empires and survived against impossible odds, hit that subscribe button right now. These ultra-wealthy dynasties don't just make money, they know how to keep it when everything goes wrong.